Great to be here with you all again. Those of you who are new to the center, my name is Michael Mirdad, and I serve here as part of our spiritual leadership. Can you share with me what topics you want us to cover today? Okay.
Uncontrollable emotions.
Depression.
Kind of the same, huh? Those two. What is it? No. Couldn't resist. Apathy, depression. Wow, okay. Happy holidays. Any others?
Freedom.
What's in your heart? Like, what is important to you? What is that?
Enhancing our relationships.
Thanks. Okay, hold on.
Discernment.
Light.
Okay, cool.
Allowing.
Okay, anyone else?
Gift.
What?
God's gift.
Okay.
Rock bottom.
Freedom.
Okay. Wow. Wow, what a variety, and most of them are depressing, but wow. Well, it's okay, it's okay. It's very important for us to understand, people get on the spiritual path, whether you're a fundamental Christian, a Buddhist, or whatever. It's funny how there's this tendency to think you're not supposed to have bad days again. Depression, I don't care if it's chemical imbalance, clinical issues, karmic, whatever. It's still how you're feeling. And I wouldn't say you should bypass one of the questions asked or requests. The spiritual bypassing is ridiculous. I've said this before, but the symbol of health that comes from ancient Greek mythology, but the symbol, the caduceus, there's a right side and a left side as well as a central. Same as in your body, the Ida, Pingala, and the Sushumna. It's beautiful. Everything is happening in threes. I've said that so many times. If people want to ever learn something and become more advanced at whatever you're learning, I don't care if it's electrical equipment or spiritual philosophy, see the pattern, see the key to unlocking these things at a deeper level. Linear doesn't teach you as well as holistic mind. So when you start to see the connection, the commonality of things, your mind starts to teach much more fully, learn much more fully. So for example, how three so often is showing. Three chakras, three sets of chakras. The Trinity of God, the Trinity of God, whether it's Hinduism or Christianity. Notice, how many parts of blood, lymphatic fluid, bones, threes are constantly showing up. There's an importance to that. There's a reason for that. And so when we get to even this, there's the central channel, which is the Christ consciousness channel. And then there's the Ida and Pingala, kind of like masculine, feminine, yin and yang. Well, if we all understand what is holistic health, but a symbol of balance, right? It's homeostasis, it's wholeness, that symbol, right? That we see used in the medical profession for that, well, misused in the medical profession, because it's really supposed to be all about first holistic, like you're just so thriving in holism that you're not as sick. Okay, so there's three parts to that. Well, if we understand there's three parts, if you saw the symbol in the central channel and only one serpent on one side, would that feel normal? No. By the same token, this symbol is also your spiritual path and your healing path. You must address healing. You must address issues. If you're trying to be so spiritual, that's what bypassing means. Yes, there are people that are their religion, their worship is eating properly, and they're only doing the healing path. Oh, that's great. You're healthier, just no more psychologically and spiritually evolved. It's great that you're, you're looking at labels at the grocery store, I'm looking for, VHS, whatever chemicals you expect to find there, That's great. You're healthier, but don't forget the spiritual. There's a lot of people that do the spiritual, but not the health. One of you used a phrase, and you may not have meant it literally, but I want to comment on it, controlling emotions. That is the old path when we were learning to be spiritual without addressing emotions. Masters used to say, you must control your emotions. And they were right for the time period that they were talking. It was right to say, thou shalt not. And Jesus is like, just try loving one another and you probably won't kill each other and steal from each other. So there's different times. So at one time, thou shalt not was the way they needed to hear that. Well, at one time, control your emotions. Maybe, and I try to bridge and look for the commonality and the light behind things. So I understand why that was taught, but it's not applying anymore. If we want to enter an Aquarian age, if we want to enter a new age, a higher age of consciousness, you can't do halfway anymore. You can't get away with just being healthier, but not spiritual. You know, great, you're fit, but nobody likes you. You know, but you also can't just do the spiritual and ignore the emotions because you'll be all cosmic, but rotting from the inside out. No health, no wholeness, and I'm talking about emotional as well, health. So that's all got to be brought into balance. And so we have to address things like, depression and darkness and sadness and fear. Don't let them control you, but don't try to suppress your emotions. Learn to say, what is this? What's going on? What's happening for me right now? Well, I'm just feeling and ask questions. The great Buddhist technique, he said, ask questions. What is this? What's this about? Jesus in A Course in Miracles says the same thing. Ask, what is this about? Learn to have a relationship with them. Don't marry them, but dialogue with them. Wow, I'm feeling really angry. What's this about? Well, and don't just, Saturn is squared such a... You, talk about you, not the planets. Don't blame them. Start and say, I'm feeling angry. Why? What's happening? Like you love yourself. Hey, honey, what's going on? I'm just agitated. Okay. How do you feel about being agitated? Well, it annoys me because I should be beyond this. I read A Course in Miracles now for 3 weeks. I should be over this. People do this. Now that I'm in recovery, everything should be peachy. No, actually, you'll get more agitated because you don't get to engage in the addictions that calm down your emotions. So now you can go, oh, so this is cool. That doesn't mean I think I'll multiply my agitation. It doesn't mean worship it or nurture it. It's learn to see it. Now, you can also be kind enough to yourself to give yourself permission to say, I have anger here, agitation, anger, etc. Peace and love and forgiveness here. I get to choose which one I want today. If I'm going to choose this one, don't ignore this one. Let's look at it, move through it, get to this one. Get over to this one. You see? Like, walk through it. It's okay. But do give yourself permission to say, if I wanted to, I could go here. That's how you know whether you're trying to control and suppress them. You give yourself permission, if I want to. Now, if it were me and I'm doing this, I could say, yes, I know I could, but the way I am, the way my mind works is like, it doesn't really make any sense to me. But the fact that I know I could, here's what I could do. I can go, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give myself 3 hours and 15 minutes to be completely enraged, and then I laugh, and I'm over it anyway. Because as soon as I realize I'm going to allocate my rage time, I think I need to have a little rage time. I start to laugh because it's kind of silly. And that is okay because the laughter, believe it or not, ha, 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 energetically is moving what would have been, I hate you, at somebody on the road. Laugh it out instead of screaming it out. But sometimes you need to scream it out. So ask yourself, what would be the best way to do this? I think screaming into a pillow might be better than at your kids. Give yourself permission to know you have options and then choose the right one, the healthiest one, the greatest win-win. Don't shame and curse this one, but just recognize it's not the one I'm choosing. Not because I'm trying to be perfect, it's because I can see it's not the greater win-win. Does that make sense? So on that note, think about this. If you plant a new tree, does it get better rooted by protecting it from the wind or letting the wind push it a little bit? Oh. So the wind strengthens. It actually makes the tree go, man, I'm feeling vulnerable. I need to, and it does. The roots have to work hard. It says, I need to put energy into my roots because I'm feeling weak. It's the same thing for us. We're made strong by the winds blowing. That doesn't mean we should say, oh, great. So that means I can only grow by being put through hell all the time. No. But when you are going through those challenges, it's always about being tested. So try to protect yourself from the winds. I'm sorry, it's bypassing. I know. Anybody with a brain knows it would feel better to not be put through garbage today. I'm not in the mood for that today. But there's only one of us here. What I'm seeing is part of me. If I'm going through tests, I don't think I'm ready. Who asked you? If it's happening, you must have already determined on a soul level you are ready. It's not like God's going, I think we can catch him by surprise today. Come on, it's okay. There's no God that's trying to punish us. People just don't realize enough yet. It's only our soul that makes these decisions every day. My soul knows my past lives. My soul knows the Akashic records because they're actually existent right here in my soul. And this is the home of my soul. So my soul knows what tests I need to kind of deal with and where my weaknesses are. So superstitious people say, oh, you have a bad day. Oh, in the old days especially, they would say, it's a curse of God. Oh, we notice you haven't had children. Oh, she's a cursed woman. What a weird way to live. Just constantly putting stuff on people. Priests see a woman walking in the Middle Ages and they're like, oh, look, a woman. And they have to go, somebody kill her because she's a temptress. Why is she a temptress? Because the priest hasn't been having much fun. And so he sees a woman and blames her. It's called projection. Now, do I think they could have just blamed themselves? No, because then they would have been killed. Because sin was so projected. People weren't owning their own thoughts and feelings. So I know it feels normal to say, someone's pushing me, somebody did this. I get all that. But what we're doing is our soul knows what we're ready for. My soul is saying, look, you're conflicted. You want to be a priest with vows, but there's also an attraction you have to gals. So maybe you need to look at this and make a decision. Do you want to be fully a priest with celibacy and so on? Then celibacy is not just not doing anything in the pelvis. Celibacy means my thoughts are not objectifying women. It's different. I'm going to the consciousness, not denying the lower consciousness. I'm rising to another one and seeing the other one as I choose to see it. So I'm beyond that. It feels like, no, I'm beyond that. I'm good. Rather, there's no projecting onto women are just walking down the street, just looking too good. It's so strange, but it's all projection. So your soul knows what you're ready for, and if it's happening, please hang in. I know it's not easy to hear this, especially if you're going through a lot. Oh, so I went to a service today, and the guy said it was all my fault. That's not what I'm saying. Kind of. It isn't your fault, but you are playing a part. That's a nice way of saying it. But you are playing a part. You can say, I'm trying to be clean and sober, but my friends are asking me to go out and they're tempting me. And they are tempting, but they're being a mirror of your own conflict already. Now, if they're being inappropriate, you're allowed and welcome and encouraged to say, get behind me, Satan. Not necessarily those words, but hey, listen, you guys know I'm working on this. I would appreciate it. You're not tempting me to go that direction. And if they're good friends, they're going to say, you got it. Absolutely, we're with you. If they're saying, oh, no, come on, man. Why are they doing that? Because that's their weakness being projected onto you. They need you to party with them because they're fearing their own lack of centeredness and commitment. But you're also projecting yours onto them, your weaknesses. So it's not God that's putting us through this, and I'm not denying an existence of God. What I'm saying is God is just holding space. We're the ones putting ourselves in various tests. You're alone feeling conflicted, you're partnered and you're feeling conflicted. Whatever it is, it's I'm uncertain, and the world is mirroring this to me. So when you take a cloth, washcloth, let's say. It's been sitting somewhere for a long time. And you pour water onto it. The water, have you ever noticed, beads off, doesn't it? It doesn't soak in immediately. And that's kind of weird because it's cloth and it's water. No. When you are too dry, too opinionated, still too stuck in your position, when a cloth has been sitting there in a certain position, it's dried up. It's almost like brittle in a sense. It's just stiff. When you're stiff-minded, when you're inflexible, pour water on, it just beads off. So I don't care if you start doing your prayer and meditation and Om Mani Padme and boom shakalaka, whatever you're doing, all it does is pour on and we bead off. And then we're going, why can't I apply forgiveness as much as I would like to? You're conflicted. Why can't I achieve better prosperity? I've been practicing prosperity techniques. Dry cloth, water poured on, here comes the prosperity, it pours off. That's what's happening. How do you change the condition of the cloth? Watch. If you've never done this, pour water on the cloth and then wring it. And all of a sudden, the water soaks in. That's the same as life. We need to let life test us a little. That's how you get your spirituality integrated, is by being put through the ringer. Otherwise, it's, how do you know it's real? Oh, look, the energy of God, it just pours in one ear and out the other. It pours off of me like water off a duck's back. Is that the kind of spirituality you have? Go start a religion, duck's back Christianity, or whatever it is. It's like it never sets in. This is not an offensive thing. This is good news. One, you'll know why some of your spiritual techniques aren't working. They're not integrated enough. You might not want to hear that because no, I am integrated. Okay, well then why isn't it working, your work? Why aren't your prayers, meditations working? You've got to integrate the presence of God, love, forgiveness, whatever things you're working on. You can talk compassion, but if it's not in you, and here's another part of that metaphor, let it, life will help you test it and get it integrated. Man, I'm very loving. The universe goes, really? Okay, cool. Let's test. Let's see. And you're barking to everybody. No. The test comes back with, this cloth is only 2% wet. You're not soaked in. But here's another cool part. Think about this. Soak in God, love, forgiveness, compassion, whatever things you're working on. Imagine it being the water that gets soaked into you, the cloth that was dry, brittle, stuck in your position. Now it's integrated. So watch this. Depending on how much water, God, love, forgiveness, technique, whatever, you let get into the cloth, watch. Whenever life takes you through the ringer, or just when you feel like going, see what I'm doing? Metaphor, you're squeezing the cloth and there's enough to pour out upon others. You see? All I have to do is any movement, and because I'm so full of something, love, peace, God's presence. It's so beautiful. In other words, you can afford it. If you're in a desert and you pour it on there to cool off, and then you need to drink some of that water. There's none in there. You're living in darkness. So there are people who don't do any of this, that are asleep spiritually, psychologically, health-wise as well. But there's people that are learning to wake up, and you're starting to wake up when that cloth has water, which means that you're holding substance. Every little test comes and you're not just reactive. I'm getting better at knowing how to hold space, how to be patient, how to be loving, how to be giving. I don't know what to do forgiveness. I just don't seem to be successful. Or I don't know how to give more prosperity and share funds with other people, to be of service, or whatever it is. That's just like taking the cloth and saying, I don't know. How will I know that I have enough? Just squeeze it a little, meaning check in with yourself. Try stretching. I don't know if my back's, you're sitting at the keyboard for an hour, 5 hours, whatever. I wonder how my back's doing. You know how you find out? You start moving. Oh my God, I didn't know that I was getting all stuck like this. Do this often enough for enough days, and before you know it, you're walking down the street like this. You know, you got a back problem? No, it's called keyboarding problem. You have to move, and you find out where the stuff is. How do you find out romantically and so on? You move, you hang out with people. If you're not sure, I'm coming off of a marriage for years and I'm kind of hurt, wounded, or relationship, you don't just freeze up and become the dry cloth. It's take time to work on things and heal. Set the cloth there, sure, if you need for a little while, but at some point, little water on it and squeeze it a little bit. Test yourself. Go out with friends. Well, what's that got to do with it? I'm looking for a partner. But if you're gun shy with this, go out with friends. Just get your mind used to going out. And then eventually going out will become a maybe person of the preferred gender. And it might be that you have to do that for a little while until it becomes natural. In other words, just try something. You see? Because human beings excuse being frozen. They freeze up, and before you know it, you have a stiff back because you've been sitting for so long in a certain position. So the point is we do things so long. There's a old saying, we form habits and then the habits form us. Pretty soon they're running our lives. Before you know it, you're being run by these compulsions that are programs. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Sitting a certain way is one of those. Try sitting another way. Try moving and stretching. Give yourself some time to move your body in the opposite direction than the one it's stuck in. Try going out if you're gun shy with dating. Well, who do I date? Whatever feels safe. Try friends. Try something more and let it grow into a new life. People a lot of times are putting pressure on themselves to be perfect and spiritual, bypassing everything else. Yes, focus on God. Focus on your goal of pure, perfect, beautiful, blissful, heaven-like life. But the rest of you, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. So let the flesh catch up a little, man. Test it a little bit. I know that I'm lovable, but I don't know anybody that likes me. So come out a little bit. Come out a bit. And and sometimes you can do that with a friend. You can say, this is a weird question. Do I seem like, as an objective view, am I a likable person? I mean, if you're feeling that doubtful about yourself, ask. And then when they say yes, soak it in. Don't go, really? I don't feel very, integrated. Integration is the key to so many things. I don't care, people talk so much about the spirituality and the things they do and do and do and do. If it's not integrated, it's next to worthless. The only reason I say next to rather than the word worthless is because it's sitting there somewhere in your auric field and can still be integrated. But it's next to worthless because it isn't integrated yet. So you go to a counselor and what they say goes in one ear and out another. You're talking to a sponsor in a program. And you really just go, oh yeah, and in your head you get what they're saying, but it's not integrated. If someone says, a sponsor says, look, we need to look behind some of your addictions. Here's some stuff we should look at. And you say, oh, they're brilliant. But you don't actually do it. It's technically worthless. Sit with it and say, wow, learn to, wow, what's that about? Where's that coming from? And learn the value of doing it. Don't just go, well, I was told. My counselor said I need to. When you leave here at the end of services, I typically ask, what did you get from this? Even if you don't speak and answer, it gets your mind to go, what did I get? Own what you heard. I'm not at all interested in having folks who just attend as though it's a standard church. Oh, I feel better about myself today. Why? I went to church. I don't want any part of that, you feeling good about yourself, because it's fake. What did you learn? What did you hear? What did you become? How are you different? And you can say, well, that's a lot of pressure, man. I got to extract something valuable out of this. Oh, I'm sorry. There are lots of other places you can go and not integrate anything. Go. Right? Just go. But yes, I love that. I'm not demanding of it, but I love it because it changes who we are. I refuse to go to a sacred service and leave the same person that arrived. What did you do? Did you leave your brain at the door and just come and just sit there and then put it back in your head when you leave and get nothing? Didn't you hear anything? Was there nothing? Did you not notice that that person over there smiles a lot? I really love that. Breathe it in, because it's an image for you, for your sake. They're doing something. That person, I was really impressed. They were very courageous because they asked about depression. Why would I breathe in depression? Because you're breathing in the courage that person has to talk about it. I need more of that. How do I know? Because you mirrored it to me. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I don't care what it is. I love the way that person dresses. Breathe it in. Because it isn't the clothing that's holy. It's that you actually are seeing something good about another person. And that's worth breathing in. You know, you don't want to just be this dried up, brittle consciousness, which, by the way, is what people become when they're hurt. So it doesn't mean you curse people, you know. You remind me of an old dried up rag, you say to your partner, and then don't tell them you heard that here. But that's not the thing. When you see people, it is a metaphor of that. This person doesn't trust much anymore. There's an interesting concept that I've taught many times. Remember, commune with God, right? Commune with God. You got to integrate that. To become a relationship with God, self, and others, commune with God to have a relationship with God. But also love and honor yourself, but love others. Be of service. So you commune with God, you connect with God, but you let that change you. And then you bring that to others. But the mantra in the world isn't that. The mantra of the world says there is no God, you should only think about yourself, and you can't trust others. That's not what I mean by having a relationship with God, self, and others. Oh, I've got that down. There is no God, I only think about myself, and I don't like or trust others. That's the mantra of this world. From every angle, that's what the world is trying to teach us. And it's, in a way, it's very heartbreaking because of the direction this has gone. I don't know what to believe anymore, you know, is where people are getting to be. Just as a quick side note, but still related, spiritual teachers, it was once a serious position. You felt called, you received downloads, and you had something to say. Now it's, oh, well, I want to write a book. I want to be on TV. It's like narcissistic, these teachers, a lot of teachers. And I said this, God, 30 years ago, I said, something is coming to the world. One of the things I predicted, and it happened. But I said, spiritual teachers are going to prove that they have failed everybody because they're writing books. That's why they're spiritual. They want to write a book. They want to be famous. They want to have money. They want to have income. They want whatever, prestige. That's why they were being spiritual teachers. Now, that generation of false spiritual teachers became the narcissistic ones of today that everybody's got a program somewhere. They're like, 15 and they have everything to tell the world. I'm here to tell you all what I think, what's really working. And all they are is stroking egos, and it's a strange, that's our spiritual source now? You once sat with Buddha. In just a short number of years in the Far East, we had Lao Tzu, Buddha, wow, that's like the greatest hits of the Far East. All within a short period, and in Greece, my God, Pythagoras, Socrates, Plato, wow, all within a short period. And what do we have today? People with podcasts, which are fine, but all kinds of very shallow, and they're people that are all into things like branding and it's so slick. And they all have the world's attention. They have nothing to say. You know why? Because they know nothing. But they are the offspring of the teachers that started going downhill a couple decades ago. Because they don't know themselves. The more we started teaching from the I am not, the ego self, the worse off we were going to be. So what's going to happen now if this generation breeds the next? If it isn't the teachings of Christ consciousness, it's called the anti-Christ consciousness. So the nurturing of the time we're in, the Antichrist, is people that do not plug into God and share from spirit. They come from themselves. I have all kinds of opinions. I have a podcast. Hi, welcome to Michael's Opinions podcast. I just have all kinds of things to tell you. And if I stroke enough egos, I have enough people watching because they're agreeing with me and my ridiculous, shallow opinions. And they're all enabling each other. Well, what that tells me, it's too far gone. I asked a client the other day, do you know when it was discovered that the oceans are too far gone? That's so pessimistic. I'm just telling you, science said this. The oceans are too far gone. You cannot clean the oceans. Now, I know that sounds depressing. When did they figure that out? And the person, I think, said maybe 10 years ago. No. In the 60s, 70s, Jacques Cousteau said, the oceans are already too far gone. They still looked blue. They still looked green. They still looked okay. Why did he say that? Because it's all about trajectory. There was no way everybody was going to change every rule and law so quickly that it could turn it around. He's talking about the laws of probability. Of course, that's barring a miracle. But people don't really care. They don't care the level you would think. As long as they can see a picture of the ocean, they don't know that we're polluting the ocean. As long as money can be made by dumping raw sewage into the ocean, they're not going to change that. It's too far gone. And that was Jacques Cousteau. And it wasn't him being pessimistic. He was telling you, mathematically speaking, you're up creek. And I'm saying, I said decades ago the same thing about spirituality. Now, bear with me for a second. Because, first of all, one reason those people are so fed and thriving off of shallow teachings, all the fake teachers and the modern, whatever they call them, motivators, or what's the other word for it? Influencer. That's a great one. Yeah, you're under the influence, all right. But in their defense, why are they at the level they are? Because they see too much hypocrisy in the world. They don't know who to trust, so they themselves are sad. They're broken. So they're going to shallow. And it's not because they're just bad people. That's all they've been shown, shallowness. Politicians, every one of them, they lie too often. You can assassinate your own president and get away with it. Nothing is being honest. They're telling you there's no UFOs. I just had one land in my backyard yesterday. What do you mean they don't exist? No, that's called hallucination. It burned my lawn where it landed. No, that's probably just over acidity. That's called narcissism. It's gaslighting, making you think you're crazy. And then we all need medication because we're told we're crazy. But who's crazy? It's the controllers, the manipulators. That's out of control. So I understand why people are depressed, why they want to drink so much, and so on and so on. I'm not going to enable it and say it's a religion everybody should follow. Let's all just get stoned and not look at ourselves, and you will feel better. Well, you will. But when you come back, you're going to be quite surprised. How could I have the same issues as last time? Because you drank them away. They weren't gone. But I understand why they're doing what they're doing. I'm only saying, but the trajectory is too far gone. You're not going to get all those influencers pop today, and I know some of you are online watching, and so sorry. But you're not going to get them to suddenly go, you know what, this world is BS. I'm going to God now for everything I want to know. The trajectory does not say that that's likely. Here's the only solution. You and I have to become what we learn and be an example, because if they see an example that their parents weren't, that their religions weren't, their government was not a good example, somebody's got to be that. And if it's not us, then who? And if it's not now, then when? You see what I mean? Be an example. The world, the Old Testament tells us, teach your children in the way of God, and even if they stray, they'll come back. Because they'll always remember, if you were an integrated example of light, they'll always remember that light. If you were a hypocrite, they'll also remember that. Teach not just your children, take the metaphor, teach the world about the light of God. I don't mean educating people in the way of God with charts and graphs. I'm talking about teach by example. Be the one at work that, no thanks, not interested in gossip. Be the one in the family that doesn't just enable ill behavior. Wake up and be an example of that light. And people may stray. There were people I hung out with back in high school, and I've only seen it literally a couple in all my years after. But I think that when I spoke to them, it was definitely agreed. They would say, you were always like this. You know, like they saw me. It looks different in high school than today, but there was something they always saw. And that's kind of a cool thing. They always saw something was different, even when I was in high school. I just wasn't the violent vandalist kind, hormone, whatever types of things we blame it on. That just wasn't my thing. At the time, it was very challenging to not feel like everybody else, to not be able to blend in. I wanted to blend in. I wish I were more like, brought into the family more like my brothers were, but I wasn't. I wished this, but it wasn't. At high school, I just seemed odd, I'm sure. What I found out was odd was even. And those who seemed to be even were odd. Yeah, Speaking of dice, no. But you see, understand you're not going crazy, you're waking up. And there's no doubt we were already crazy. When we were trying to conform, when we were doing things on automatic pilot, when we were doing things compulsively, addictions and all, that's when we were crazy. When we were confused as to whether there is or isn't UFOs. Why are you confused? Well, because the government said, oh, don't be quoting them. They assassinate their own presidents. Quote somebody with brilliance. Well, how do we know for sure if Jesus ever, we need proof. I'm sorry for you. And the good news is, those who resist the light and wisdom of God, it's because they're afraid of it. It's not because they're stupid, bad, evil. There's only one reason. People deny the truth, and it's because they're afraid of it. The truth will set you free, and the truth includes, learning to wake up, learning to and integrate your own lessons, and they're yours. I know somebody else put you through that. There are a couple times I've been through the dark night of the soul, and odds are everybody watching on this program or in the room probably have gone through it at least twice in their lifetime. If you haven't, it's coming. But most people will go through in their lifetime 2, maybe 3 times a dark night of the soul. Sometimes they're shorter, briefer, but typically they're a few years. And we always wish we were out of them. But what I'm saying is, chakra-wise, even if you made this a linear story, hi, my name is Michael, and I'm root chakra, because that's where we all start. Unless you're ungrounded, then you might start in your navel center. But you land on Earth and you identify as just a really simple base person. I know we all vary. Some of us are more awake. But let's just say you became really dense and so on. That's root chakra. I'm just a grunt. I barely know how to speak. I just grunt when I talk. And I'm just, dense. Well, when you wake up, you start to realize it's not just a physical life. We're emotional beings. And you start waking up your emotional self. And you start looking at family of origin and past lives and issues and wounds and addictions. Good job. But you're still only 2 chakras up. Then you go, now I'm going to develop my 3rd center, knowledge, willpower. You can't just be an emotional person. You've got to also develop focus and willpower, balance between the emotional self and the intellectual self. Nice. Well, I don't really like one of those. Hence the life you've got. And your soul says, we want you to be balanced. So it'll keep attracting, if you're hyper emotional type, it's going to keep attracting more intense energy in your life, whether it's government, partners, or whatever, to be that. And you're going to go, oh, I don't like those intense controlling people. But your soul is going, we need you to soak up a little of that. Stand in their presence, breathe in, and get some of that energy so that you're more focused. Because you don't like them. But they didn't lose on an investment because they researched it because they're in their minds. And you lost yours because you were feeling like, well, it just felt good to me, to give somebody all my money. And now you lost it. You see, there's a place for all of it. Ultimately, we want balance. The physical, the emotional, the mental, great. Now, even if this is a linear story we're talking about, and you go, I really got these down pretty well. The next chakra is what? The heart. Isn't that a beautiful chakra to reach? Yes? No. When you reach the heart chakra, it says, oh, you thought this was just going to be like, oh my God. everything's like unicorns and rainbows. And no, when you reach the heart, the bummer is the heart is also the home of the soul. And the soul's going, hi, good to see you. Glad you made it here. Now we need to talk. Here are some areas that you did not work on in your previous years and lifetimes. And you're like, well, I did some work. Yeah. But this is the dark night of the soul we're introducing you to. The dark night of the soul means we've gone back into your being and swept up every loose object that we could break loose or get and we went and got them all, and we have a collection of them. You're not going to go through a health crisis for a week or two. You're not going to kind of have a relationship struggle. The dark night, your soul says, we're going to get you to go through all of it at the same time. Multiplied, intensified, all seen through a magnifying glass. It's when everything seems to go wrong. That's the dark night of the soul. And it isn't, you're cursed, and it isn't someone's picking on you. Your own soul says, now would be a good time for us to go through all this stuff and clean this up. Why is it doing that? One, it's teaching you not to be attached to false images of yourself. Like, I'm a really good mother. Well, we're going to find out. I'm such a loving person. Okay, hold on. I could look this up, but if you want to just confess these things, it'll save me some time, the soul says. So you say you're this and you're that, and you're totally clean, sober. Great, that'll be a good one. It's going to write it all down. It's going to make notes, but it's drawing it from your Akashic records. Where are you real? Where you're real, breathe in and give thanks. Celebration, hallelujah. Where are you not real? Uh-oh. And it isn't bad. The dark night of the soul, there is nothing on earth, and I say on earth on purpose because I'm not saying nothing in heaven. Nothing on earth is as effective in bringing a person to a higher level of consciousness than the dark night of the soul. Worst thing you can go through. Why is it good? Because it wrings out the dust, garbage, and shakes out the garbage, but it rings in the truth of who you are. I made it. I became more patient. Let's test. The cloth wet? Good job. You did. It's a simple thing. But when your soul goes through your being and through all your records, and all it's finding is the dried up, brittle, stuck cloth, it knows there's a problem. And you can say, no, I listen to spiritual programs all the time. Check the Akashic records. They go, yeah, you just never listen to any of them. You just put them on. You have relationships, but you're never there. You have addictions, but you don't look at them. You made yourself stop drinking, but you never looked at why you were drinking in the first place. So the issue just transferred to another addiction. And I know that sounds like a lot to be having to deal with and manage, but you're doing it whether you know it or not or like it or not. If you're a participant with your soul, it's always the best decision. Be a participant. It sounds like a lot to do. Guys, if God is with us, what could be against us? Furthermore, if your soul is controlling the whole program, it could be okay then. If you're not the victim of the world, but you will seem like it if you're not a participant, a co-creator. So we all have to get to that place of realizing even prayer just runs right off. Well, God should have what? Did you breathe God in? You see? You talked to God. That's still of the head. So the dark night of the soul is when your soul is saying, not only do we want to learn non-attachment, meaning you had a certificate that said you were a certified this or that. Now you find out you're certifiable. You know, I thought I was certified, but I'm certified. I thought I was a great mother, but now I find that I get angry when my kids don't get perfect grades. That's not a really great mother. That's just that's the programs we're put into. So you start to realize and loosen things up, attachments. But you also, another thing of the dark night of the soul, the key word with the dark night is it's a time of integrating and becoming what you used to talk about. So yes, you are put through things to learn non-attachment, but you're also put through the dark night to become what you spoke, what you heard, what you learned. You see, it's a time of integration. There's a few other relevant pieces to the dark night of the soul, you know. I talk about this in my 7 Initiations book, all the primary pieces that I'm mentioning here, but also the dark night of the soul in the dark night of the soul book to learn more about it. What am I doing? Why is this happening? I explain those things, and I'm not selling you books because you can also learn about it in free videos in our YouTube channel. But learn about this. Learn about what is the dark night of the soul. What is the spiritual path really? study this, learn it, and integrate the understanding of it instead of just kind of going through it by accident once in a while. By going through life things with sort of, blinders on. So at the end of the day, I need to become more integrated. Yes, I need to pray and set an intention to integrate more. Set an intention. It's time for me to start absorbing what I'm learning. If any of you were a boss at work and you taught an employee something and they didn't get it, you taught it 2, 3, 25, 30 times, at some point, they're not really going to get it. You just realize no matter how many times you tell them, they're not wanting to get it. You can say they're not capable. Trust me, there's a part of them that doesn't want to. As long as you'll keep repeating it, I don't have to integrate it. You see? That's using people. Your kids have to learn to become what you've been trying to teach them. Be an example, of course. Sure, educate them and teach them, but they have to soak it in. And they may not soak it in right away. Humans are just stubborn. They tend to learn things the hard way instead of the easy way. In developmental psychology, it is said that if you have children, you'll hopefully relate, or this will be great news for you to know this now. If you have children, it is believed in developmental psychology that your children will not be capable of appreciating you until they're around 30. What a weird thing to say. What do you mean they're not capable? It's like it's not there yet. Because if they still haven't gone through the dark night of the soul, by 30 you usually do, coincidentally. The dark night of the soul gets you to sit back and go, wow, and look at yourself. I thought I was just so beautiful or cool or whatever it is, and none of that matters anymore. By the dark night of the soul, by that time, you're ready to go through divorce or rude awakenings, sobriety, or whatever it's going to be, that a major change in your life. But the world, oh my God, it's going to look like the world is doing these things, but be proud of yourself. This is your soul saying, I think I'm ready. I mean, that's a hard thing to say when you're hurting, but in the dark night of the soul, because in the dark night you will be hurting. One thing I say about the dark night of the soul is you don't always die in the dark night of the soul. You don't always get killed literally in the dark night of the soul, but you often wish you were dead. That's how intense it can be. And I'm not kidding on that. The dark night of the soul can be the time in a person's life where they say, just take me now. And that's in the Bible referred to as a point where you will pray for death and death will not come. Ooh, that's a powerful statement in the Bible. It's telling you about you. You will pray for death. Oh, I would never. You will pray for death, whether it's a little or a lot, and death will not come. And that is a point of deep despair, yes, but I'm telling you, it's also a pivotal point, because when you pray for death and death does not come, life does, if you open up to it. The death I wanted can be not mortality and victim of an accident or whatever it is. The prayer for death is actually, I'm ready to be done with my ego controlling my life. You might think it's, I want to die because they don't love me. I want to die because my children won't speak to me. Who cares if they don't speak to you? You're a soul who's made in the image of God. You don't need validation through a phone call. You are a holy child of God in whom God is well pleased. So step up. So you get that idea, you get that point, and you realize, wow, this is what it's really about. I'm an autonomous being made in God's image. And you start to own that and integrate that into your being. And now the neediness and compulsions and those things start to fade away. Fight them, and you're just a human fighting with these dualities. Instead, no. I'm going to set an intention. I'm ready to wake up. I'm ready to integrate more. Set the intention and keep your eyes open. Because you go through a good thing, breathe in the good. You go through a challenge, breathe in what you learned from the challenge. Always remember that. That's a big part of, our awakening, is being able to breathe in what we learned from whatever challenges go on. Most people try to run from those challenges. But then, of course, practice higher principles. Practice love, forgiveness. If you want to become more awakened, or more integrate, because integration is a key for our awakening. But if you want more integration, set an intention to get it. But also, yes, practice higher principles. When you practice those, don't go just all the time, and I get the intentions are nice, but hi, God, it's me. Can you send me a better life? That's nice. But you know what's better is that what is God? God, you are the presence of peace and abundance. And then breathe in the consciousness of God. Then you become peace and abundance. Do you think you need to pray for a car now? You don't. Because if you're the spirit of abundance, anything you want just starts coming to you. Humans keep working at things. Masters seek first the kingdom and everything else comes. So yeah, have the principles, the lifestyle, be consistent. But remember to look at what you learned. Own what you learned. Okay, I worked with this person, a doctor, and now I know never trust a doctor again. That's probably not a healthy affirmation. What did you learn from it? Well, I can't trust it. Keep going. Go deeper than that. Why can't you trust them? Well, because they did this and they didn't, do that, and they should have done. Was that in the contract with them? Did you write that down, that you wanted this and that? Well, no. You're not bad, but now you learned. I need to get it in writing. Does that make sense? Things like that. People, human beings just struggle with simplicity like that. And lastly, please learn the value of giving thanks. It's really trippy because saying thank you for whatever, I'm not saying thank you, God, that I was really put through the ringer this week, but I'm thanking God for what I got from it. Now, does God need the gratitude? It's not about, it's your consciousness rising when you give thanks. It's not you dragging God down to receive a sticker, smiley face sticker on his report card. This is you. I'm giving thanks, which means I'm owning what I learned, including the positives. Give thanks for the positives. You know why? Because when you do, it means you breathed it in. When you say thank you, you're saying, and so it is. So if I say, God, I want to thank you for helping me through this relationship crisis, I don't feel so codependent. The universe is going, and so it is. When you say, thank you, the universe is going, that's done. Oh my God, guess what happened? The book got closed on that. You get to go to the next grade. You get to graduate and go to higher levels. It's fantastic. The simple thing of saying thank you actually does that. Set your intention. Absolutely. Learn what you can from these things. Live the spiritual life, but something as simple as learning to give thanks. And that includes people in your life. I want to thank you for, you seem like a person who's always, you see positives in them. Thank them. A couple times I've been pulled over for whatever, traffic violation of some kind. I always shake the hand and thank them. It's like they're shocked. But other people too. It's like, well, I want to thank you. They're expecting, I'm going to go and argue this in court. And you don't think they've heard that before? All they do is mark their calendar. They can't wait. Why mess with them like that? And you've heard me say this, but I just tell them if they say, okay, sir, and if you want to dispute this, dispute it, even if I wasn't speeding. I have before and you weren't around, so it's even. I mean, in all fairness, if you don't think you ran that stop sign, I'm sure I have before. I'm not going to let this destroy me. I don't care if you think they're trying to get their quota. What a weird way to live. I'm always watching. Everybody's trying to get their quota. I can't date because the guy's just probably trying to get his quota. I can't drive because there's a cop waiting to get his quota. Don't live in paranoia. Kind of laugh at it. I mean, there was a time when coming down a hill, and I was married and had kids and had a minivan. But coming down this hill, and I went to stop at a stop, and there was gravel, and I kind of slid through and didn't stop, and it was just a quiet, nobody's around. The streets are empty, and it's the back roads. So I just kind of graveled and then rolled on through, and the cop pulled me over. And I'm not kidding. He said, okay, do you realize, I said, yeah, And he's going, okay, well, you went through the stop sign. Okay, can I see your license? I don't have my license. Can I have the registration? What does it look like? Now, is this a cop getting his quota, or am I not grounded enough Take responsibility. It doesn't matter. Lady's going, okay, well, how about? Then I found the registration. I'm like, woohoo! Guess what, officer? I found the registration. Is that it? He goes, yeah, that's it. Except it's supposed to be signed. And I go, look over there. Just like that. Look over there. And he just starts laughing. He's going, that's not when you're supposed to be signing it. I go, I know. There couldn't be any, where's your insurance? I just go like this to the cop. I put my arms out the window. Like, I mean, I'm the one who's done all this or didn't do, right? And it's kind of funny. And he's laughing. Okay, go get these things put together and, drive safely. And he lets me go. Hate them. Hate begets hate. And I know it's not always easy to say, let's be playful with people that are sometimes hurtful or rude. I know. But get used to more and more of that and not setting people up for a position of being out there to hurt you. Date. And if they keep going badly, you need to fast. Because when you're sick, you fast. Even a dog knows that. A dog doesn't go, oh, I can barely move, I'm vomiting, and oh, look, pizza. The dog doesn't say, I can't resist the pizza. An animal knows when it's going to die. An animal knows when it's sick, and it knows in its own organic way what to do. And humans just refuse. If you're vomiting up former relationships, fast from relationships. Do some introspection, do some clearing, do some cleaning up. Get in a program, codependence anonymous, whatever it is. At the very least, watch videos and take notes. And don't just write the notes. Sit back and breathe them in. That one, wow, and sit with that. One mystic in the old years used to say, you should spend as much time absorbing what you read as you do reading. So you should read a paragraph and sit with it. Read a page or whatever, a chapter, and sit with it. Let things soak in. That way you're becoming what you read. You see the difference? When you're reading, you're just doing. When you sit and breathe it in, you're actually becoming what you read. And it's the same in a group like this when we sit together. This isn't about somebody lecturing. We're in this together. What do you guys want to talk about? And then we take off with it. It's the best I can in sort of a spirit channeling to the best of my ability, and that feels good generally speaking. And we're all sitting in, we're asking questions we want to know. Not tell us whatever you're in the mood to tell us. Why don't we all get involved in this? Why don't we all grow together and bring in the presence and let the highest come to us in terms of information, guidance, and so on? But breathe this in and become this. If we dumbed it down and we just lectured, we would probably have, even in a small town, probably twice the number of people that attend now, online and here. If we just simplified and dumbed things down, I don't know that I can. I've asked occasionally, is that what you guys want? You say no. Good. So I say good. But it's an interesting position to be in. Let's just talk at a much simpler level. James 15:3 says, you are going to hell. I mean, we could, but that's not me at all. Instead, I'm going to make a joke about how we're already in hell. That's me. I'm not going to go, oh, you better do this or else. Or else what? How could it get any worse? I've been married, you could say, I've been married 3 times. I get kids that are drug addicts. Great. How is hell any worse than that? Oh, because hell is eternal damnation. So is reincarnating with the same family. Life on earth is your jail sentence. It is. It is. Yes, there's also darker dimensions some people have to experience because of darker stuff. But for the most part, here's the good news. This is as bad as it gets. I bet nobody's going to want to quote that from me. But the good news is, guys, this is just a game. And the egotists run it. And my parts of my ego still want to listen to it, so I buy into it, and so we all live in hell together. Well, the idea is wake up. In the Plato story of the cave, and we're going to close in a sec. And I'll have to really be brief about this, but the story called The Cave, Plato's writing, very simplified, shortened, is all these people are put into a cave at young age, and they live there generation after, they're living there forever, generation after generation, but they're all chained up to a rock, and all they see is the darkness of the cave. One day, one of them finally breaks free. This is a great metaphor. One of them breaks free, goes out of the cave, realizes there's a whole world, goes back and tells the others, frees them, and they killed him. That's what Christ did. That's Jesus's role. But it's also why Gandhi was killed and all these other people. People are afraid of the light. They would rather live in the familiar darkness than risk going out into the world of light. Who would think that that would be logical at all, common sense at all? Who would think that's rational? It isn't. But when you've been hypnotized by this world enough, anything can look rational. You see? And things like the hatred that's going on and the influencers that talk from a hateful place about a president, former president, future president, whatever. It's just all madness. But you know something's wrong when hate is allowed to spew the way it does. Question it. It doesn't matter. You know, if you want to be spiritual, this has been a great test for everybody. Politics. Because people started with COVID and then politics, they started choosing a side. And that's dangerous because someone's convinced you that there's a you and a them instead of there's us. I refuse to hate you. I refuse. And you just keep holding that as your mantra. There's some guy, who was a preacher, speaker, and he got assassinated. Some of you had written in, and Michael, say this, and Michael said, no, I'm not interested in what you tell me to say about these things. I can only tell you the truth. The truth is, someone hating enough to kill him is not cool. So you're saying you agree with that? I don't know. I've never heard the guy. But I know that he was like a fundamental Christian. I know this. The guy, by whatever name, he would not watch this program and go, yeah, man, I totally dig. He's going to say Michael should talk about Jesus more. But you know what? I promise you, the guy would never say, I hate that Michael guy. So don't just jump on the bandwagon and think he's bad and deserve to be killed. And all. Be careful. Listen to him and see. I only know this. He's a fundamental Christian that wouldn't hate us for our beliefs. That's kind of trippy. I like that. There's a guy, a big fundamental guy in Houston. And even other Christian ministers have gone after him. He's very cool, very beautiful, the way he presents Christ consciousness. But you know what the pivotal point was? When they turned on, well, two things. He made too much success, and they're jealous. So some of the ministers don't like him because of that. But one of the pivotal points publicly is they told him he had to condemn gays because that's the Christian way. And he said, who am I to judge? And they all went after him. I think it's hilarious, meaning, can't you see who's really messed up here? Like, I'm going to become gay just because of that. You're so insane. Really? What are we, the dark ages? And this guy's going, I can't say that. Well, if you're a Christian minister, you must say that gays are going to go to hell. No, who am I to judge them? And they went after him on that because they're looking for anything to fire away, to bring him down. Why? Because they want his attendees. I swear to God, it comes down to money. Money and fame and whatever, that same principle. So letting go of all this stuff, letting go, man. Don't jump on the bandwagon. This president, that president, they're all messed up. People don't realize how they are actually puppet strings, man, on those people. No matter how confident they seem, they're allowed to be loud and obnoxious. They don't mind. Or seemingly inept and quiet. They don't mind that these guys look a certain way as long as they don't cut the strings that are being pulled on them. There are people behind this. Wake up to that.
What comes after the heart chakra?
After the heart chakra, collectively, the spiritual trinity of God. This is our Christ center, and then the father and mother centers. The masculine and feminine is a limited term to use, but the father, mother aspects, these two chakras. But this is the Christ chakra. And it's not a talk that I can do all of that. It's mentioned in the 7 Initiations book about these centers. But what's nice is after you make it through the dark night, keep your wits. Remember, this too shall pass. Also a biblical statement. You're going through hell, but listen, this too shall pass. And I ask you this, when it passes, when the storm blows over, I don't know if you remember a Twilight Zone where there was going to be a nuclear bomb, a nuclear holocaust, and a couple neighbors were building bomb shelters and others weren't. Well, when they thought the air raid was coming, they broke in and punched out the guy who had the bomb shelter, right? and they hurt him and they cursed him and it was terrible. Then they hear it's false alarm and they're like, oh, sorry about that. How about a barbecue later? All this hurt, fear, hatred acted out. So I'm asking you, when you go through your nuclear winter, when you go through your dark night, I ask you to ask yourself, how do you want to be when it's over? Do you want to have regrets of the people you punched out while you were in the dark night? I personally am like, I've got to hang in there a little longer because when it blows over, I want to know that I did pretty well. That's how I feel about it personally. I don't want to go, well, I don't want to score a C minus. I mean, that's all I did in school, but on a spiritual gradings, I don't want a C minus. I want to know, I'm not trying to be perfect, but I want to know that I've done my best to hold my center. So don't let them see you sweat. Don't give in all the time. Hang in there. This too shall pass. And when that blows over, you enter the Christ center. Too many details I can't go into right now, but you enter a new level of Christ. I'm not saying you're perfectly Christed. You're not like Christed. You're just kind of Christed. It's kind of, wow, you legitimately open this up a bit more because you have crucified and resurrected and ascended. All of life's tests are crucifixions. They've got to have the chance of resurrection and ascension. How do you not resurrect and ascend? Blame everybody else and hate that you went through it. Yeah, baby. Integrate what you learned from it and Michael floated up into a cloud into ascension. That's how it happens. It doesn't happen by you blaming. It's by how you process properly. Die well. Ascend, forgive, and ascend. You get to that level, and after that, just as Mother Mary cared for Jesus' body and Magdalene and others took care of his body in the tomb, the Divine Mother will come to you when all is said and done and you go through the dark night. She will come to you. She will hold you and say, I'm so sorry, how are you doing? I'm scared, I'm hurt, I don't know what to do. I know, honey, shh. And she'll soothe you into a healing process if you set your intention to be there for her. Blame, shame, it's not going to happen. You're just going to go from the heart back into lessons. You want to rise in your own mini ascension process and resurrection. You go and the mother takes you and she holds you and she wipes the sweat, she wipes the blood, she wipes the wounds, she talks you through it. And it's so beautiful. And then you're going to say, I want to stay in your arms forever, which is very cool. 6th chakra. And then the Father shows up and he's going to say, how's everything going? Oh, they're doing much better. Good, because I want them to go back to work. And the Father sends you back to earth, meaning energetically, metaphorically, psychologically, meaning I know you went through hell and you swore you'll never do relationships again, you'll never do this, and you don't like this about the world, but you integrated, you learned, now you rested, now I need you to go back and take what you learned to the world. That's why your Kundalini goes up the back and down the front, because more evolved than just up and out cosmically, more important is it rises to the crown. My cup runneth over, as in Psalms, right? My cup runneth over. It awakens these two centers together, and then it comes back down the front, which means you learned, you grew, you awakened, bring it to the world. Whoa! I guess I'm glad I talked for an extra few minutes to complete that. Thanks for asking about that. Thank you. Let's take a few centering breaths. Taking a moment to breathe in and integrate what we've heard or learned today that made the most sense. Very calmly, allow the Divine Mother, allow the Holy Spirit to bring up for you 2 or 3 things you've gone through in the last month or this year, whatever. 2 or 3 things, positive or negative, wonderful or challenging. Any 2 or 3 things that come to mind, she'll know what she's doing. Let them enter your mind. Any experience. Be honest with yourself and just try this. The experience. Coincidental. I was a victim. It just happened to happen. It's random. Look at those angles first. It seemed unwarranted, or I was undeserving, even a positive thing. I might feel like, wow, I didn't know I deserved that. Whatever it comes to mind. And see how that doesn't feed your soul. Even good events that you don't breathe in and learn from doesn't feed your soul. So choose to be a master now instead. Give thanks for the positives, thanks to the others that brought you the positives and you who deserved them. Breathe in gratitude for any of the positives. And you say, well, I've only had tiny positives. If you don't breathe in the tiny ones, they'll never grow to be bigger ones. Breathe in anything that's coming to mind. Breathe in what you learned from the negatives, the challenging. What did you learn? Not they can't be trusted, I. What did you learn? I should be more patient. I should ask more questions. I should get to know a person more first, or whatever it is. You're integrating the experience. I see that now. And as soon as you do this, you're already entering your heart chakra, because that's where integration happens. I'm no longer just a root chakra, emotional chakra, intellectual chakra. No, I'm in my heart, and I know that because I am here in my soul, willing to look at what I learn and give thanks for. That only a soul can do that. Humans can't. They blame. They project. Breathe it in. I am awakening. I'm very grateful I've made this decision to wake up and do a quantum leap higher to higher levels today. And I'm grateful that this can only be the result of already having chosen to be ready for this. This isn't because Michael talked about it. I must be ready. And in my readiness, my soul has stepped up, and you, Divine Mother of God, you have somehow orchestrated this. And I give thanks for your presence. I am as God created me. I will to be the Christ on earth. I need nothing, and I need do nothing other than that which is guided through me. I'm a new person. And even in this time of the year, I'm going to now spend focused time on healing and integrating this month, but also receiving the gifts, the Christmas gifts. I'm going to receive the gifts of God that have been willing to come to me all the time, but they couldn't come to me while I was in a separate state of mind. Now I'm whole-brained, whole-mindedness. I'm integrating, I'm showing up. Bring me the gifts that come to those who choose God as their guide. And I give thanks in advance. Not only that I'll receive these, but there's plenty of people around me that I can share these gifts with. Financially, emotionally, levels of patience, through a smile, a word of support, whatever it is, here I am. And so it is. When you come back to the room, please, integrate slowly. Take your time. How's everyone feeling? A lot of emotion, a lot of tears were shared there, more than, in some meditations. What did you learn or hear or feel or experience today that making the most difference for you?
Integrating such a beautiful things, that even this little baby that's come into my life, integrating the groove.
Integrating. Good. Good, yes. Anyone else? Yes.
I hope, I believe, I know, I become.
I hope, I know, I believe, I become, yes. Got to get the beliefs right, yes.
I love your explanation of integration with washcloth.
Yeah, isn't that brilliant?
Get out afterward and you know you've succeeded because you've got something to share.
Oh, I like that. I like that. I've mentioned something to that effect before, not as much detail, so I really liked the way that was coming through, the washcloth metaphor. It's perfect. It just runs off or it gets integrated. When you integrate enough, all you do is a little movement, there's enough coming out to bring to others. Just a little movement, a little prayer, a little smile, that's the movements I'm talking about, and there's enough. If not enough comes out, maybe I haven't integrated enough of it in my being. Yes.
There's within the last few days, which have been really packed, sometimes there's distractions and stimulus going everywhere.
Yep.
And really absorb and take in each present experience as it's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, breathing in each thing in the present as it's happening. Breathe in, and again, lessons learned from the challenging and also the gifts that come with the positives. Who else had their hand up over here? Yes.
I noticed that in the meditation, when you ask us to bring up the challenge, and then come back into God's way, I noticed that the challenge was sitting out there all by itself, and that it wasn't a part of me.
Ah,
I still saw it, but when I forgave myself, it just
wow. Beautiful. So a challenge arose in the meditation, but you sort of left it behind momentarily.
it wasn't a part of me, but it was separate from me.
But in forgiving it, it shifts. Yeah, nice. Aquarian Gospel describes it really beautifully and says that mankind makes their own demons, so to speak. Whether it's addiction or guilt or shame, these become like demons that we create. And then when they show up and we see them, we become afraid of them and we run, which then makes them feel like they have power over us and they chase us through eternity. Yeah, it's pretty powerful, isn't it? Stop the way some indigenous tribes taught their children. Stop, turn and face it and say, what are you? What do you want? And it'll typically, like lucid dreaming, you shift and go, what do you want? You're awake even though you're dreaming. A part of your mind's awake and say, wait. And you can change the outcome or not be chased in your dreams like a victim. You stop, learn to look at the thing chasing you, even if it's your conscience or whatever. What is this about? And dismantle it, not run from it. One more. Somebody saying, yes, sir.
It sounded like you were saying, I see confusing aspects of our life for integration, that pretty much the only way to it is through it.
He's summarizing that another way of saying it, the only way to it is through it. Running from it just emboldens it. Now I'm afraid of that and it becomes a thing. Whatever it is, a conversation you really need to have, but I'm afraid of it. You're a holy child of God. How could you be afraid of anything? Let's dismantle this. Let's look at it. Buddha was talking about use rational thinking at these things. Don't just cave and be victims. Wake up. That's why it's synonymous with that word, Buddha, is awake. Be awake, show up. Look at things in their true perspective. They don't have the power over you that you thought they did. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're going to do our collection and our closing prayer. I want to mention something we're shifting a little on, and that is at the end of a month like today, we're asking you, please, at the end of the month, do what you can to give more to help us out. But it's also getting to be the end of the year. So we have to plug any holes and things, leaks and finances and just finish off the year in the green, I would call it. So we would appreciate any extra donations you can afford. Every little bit helps. So in the purple bags, that's where your donations go. Any extra you can afford, the baskets, whether it's change at the bottom of your purse or a tithe from a windfall you had, whatever. Those are in the baskets, and we use those funds more specifically to help people of lesser means, as well as any special projects. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be focusing to raise several thousand extra dollars so that we finish off the year with things paid off and taken care of. Let's take our love offering to our heart. Get into a sincere state of mind. Together, please. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Thank you. Please stand for our closing prayer. Pardon?
Will that be online, the class, the one that you?
Yes, the
What you
Wednesday.
gave The last one, the last.
Mythology or Wednesday's class?
Yeah.
Mythology is online or here in person. Today's Awakening Christ is here in person or online. And then the mythology next Sunday, it's online only. Okay? Please stand for our closing prayer. And our Wednesday group is online and in person as well. Feel good? Ring it in, man. Not just bring in the new year, ring it in. You know? Ring in the new year. Ring in the new self. Breathe it in. Breathe it in. Joy, celebration. Wow. Nice people. I'm so glad to be hanging out with nice people. There are so many alternatives out there. Give thanks for everything, big and small, in your life so that more can come to you, really. Give thanks for finding $1 on the ground somewhere in the street. And it's fine. It's just $1. No, it's prosperity. Breathe it in. Give thanks. Every gift. Help us to forgive ourselves, Father, Mother, God, for any moments we underestimated and undervalued our goodness, our deservability. Help us to see that in ourselves and others. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we go, God is, I am, we are, and so it is. Peace be with you all. God bless. Thank you.